Give me the countdown in prime numbers starting downwards from 10,000.
Ow. Just ow.
Ain't gonna happen.
I don't numbers that well.
Mm.
Not many people do.
How to numbers. So harder. All right, well, welcome to the show tonight, everybody. We're excited to be here as we were talking about prime numbers, apparently, and all sorts of other shenanigans. Yeah, so we've got Sarah joining us tonight because we're really excited about a lot of the news that happened last week, but there's a lot of it. So we're just going to jump straight into it tonight. We got Sarah, Kenny, and Steven. My name is Jerry, and we're going to start off talking about some Cyberpunk because, for those who don't know, Cyberpunk 2077 released this week. It's been a game that people have been pretty excited about for the past... Man, when did that game get announced? Like, a couple years. Yeah, 2013. So this game has been in the works for like 7 years.
Yep.
Much like Final Fantasy VII Remake was.
It was longer than that. It was longer
and much
than
like exactly the same amount of time that you'll have to wait for the next Kingdom Hearts game.
Based on the story of the last one, I'm good. I'm good.
I
'Cause I don't get it. I'm out.
I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm an avid fan, and I'm still trying to figure that out. But going back to Cyberpunk, so some of you guys may have been playing it this week or seen Kenny streaming it this week, been like, "Wow, that looks good." I'm going to assume that those people are not the people who are playing on Xbox One or PlayStation 4, because we have heard a lot of reports of how the game looks bad to be nice about it. You can probably just jump on YouTube or Twitter and just like see some videos of people playing on like that. I guess old gen is the correct word now. The old gen systems. It doesn't look good. Steve had some thoughts on this earlier. He was talking about this, right?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So initially I had heard about, the shall we say visual problems with the game. And I'm on PC, so like my thoughts were like, "Oh man, that sucks. I don't know what that's like." Up until I watched some videos of the gameplay, and people are, they're fair to be upset. Like, it's fair to be upset. Although it's not as bad as, other, massive games that came out when they came out at launch. My comparison was to it wasn't as bad, or it was as bad as The Witcher 3, but that game's popping now. So, how bad could it be?
Yeah. So Cyberpunk is offering refunds now for those people that were doing that, or that were upset about that, which is a unique thing for game companies to do, because I don't really remember many games that have launched with a title and had fans be so upset about something and the game developers claiming responsibility. There's not many that do it, but CD Projekt Red has had a really good reputation with gamers for a very long time for producing really good games, and so they let players know, like, hey, like, okay, well, Sony's disagreeing with me on that a bit. We can go into that too. So they're offering refunds for players who are playing on the old gen systems who are displeased with that, because they feel like they believe that they misled players on the type of experience that they would be receiving on the old gen consoles. That is, I guess, something you can take advantage of. They're also promising to release patches to fix those problems, but it remains to be seen how well those patches will work. If it's anything like, I'd get a lot of flack for saying this, but if it's anything like Andromeda, that would probably be a good thing, because I played Andromeda about a year after it came out for the first time, and people were complaining about all those bugs, and I didn't run into any problems. Like, the game was phenomenal for me. Like, I loved it. So if you are thinking about getting it, maybe wait a while, and try to see what happens with it next.
Unless you're on PC.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I feel like given the quote unquote rush to get games out, like, I mean, Cyberpunk is just the latest in how many titles that is launched with issues.
Yeah.
It's become the normal thing. And admittedly, the scope of games has increased, but the time we expect them to be churned out in has not really, which results in things like crunch and all of that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting, the pushback, unfortunately, given sort of this is now the new status quo.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of CD Projekt Red did like offer refunds, and most folks don't do that. But this feels kind of like old hat anymore. If you're going to get a game launch day, you're going to run into issues, and you either decide to just roll with it or you decide to wait.
Yeah, I feel like that should be part of the expected experience when you buy a game at launch. Like, they've never had it on the scale that they're going to have it at launch. Like, so of course they're going to find more problems and stuff like that. Like, it should just be part of your understanding that that's what you're signing up for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was telling a friend of mine, because he was like, "Oh, look at all these reviews coming in for Cyberpunk," because he just doesn't like Cyberpunk aesthetic, period. But he's like, "Look, it's rated worse than like Wombat Racing or whatever." And I'm like, my dude, the game has been out for literally 4 hours. Like, whose opinion are you listening to? But like, like I told him, was like there are more people playing the game than they've ever had test the game. So like there's going to be problems on, a bunch of stuff. However, if the problems that are, I put the game, I was going to say I put the disc in my console, but it's probably just downloads. But like I download the game on Xbox, I turn it on, and everybody's face is just polygons. That's something that QA probably should have found. So I like their frustration is understandable. However, this is what you get in post 2010 when you buy a game the day it comes out and it's a AAA title. Like, we're very accepting of early access games when they say, "Oh, this game's not done yet," and it's done by an indie company. Like, you expect it to be buggy and to kind of suck and to not really be done. I understand why big companies aren't willing to do that, but like at a certain point, you should probably say like, "Hey, this game's not extra done yet, but like we also need to pay these developers, so could you just buy it and just keep working on it?"
Or maybe it's time we adjust cost of games. Like, look, I don't want to pay more for my games, but if it means people are making a livable wage, I will happily pay, $80, $90, $100.
Right.
Or it means we adjust how long it takes, our expectations of how long it takes for games to be developed. There was a great thread on Twitter today with somebody talking about the way that crunch can actually be a kind of death spiral over time. Because when you have crunch and you basically have, say, let's start with the best example, which is, a small indie company or a small medium-sized company, and you have folks who are working an extra 2 to 3 hours, maybe because they're passionate, they love the project, this is something they want to do. Here's the problem. You multiply that over a team of, say, even 50 or 100 people, not even the size of someone like CD Projekt Red, and you have something like weeks or months of unaccounted for time that your budget, your timeline never included. And so when you then kind of plan out future projects, there is the implicit understanding that those extra hours could be used, even if it's not officially in the budget, it's not officially in the schedule, it's not officially in any proposals or anything. And this is how, over time, we've kind of ended up in this place where we expect bigger and more sophisticated games to be made in the same amount of time they always were. And this is not just on the consumers, this is on the companies for using this practice. They know that there are people who will do it, even if they pay overtime, even if they did. I think that ultimately we're doing ourselves a disservice by kind of being silent on the issue when it comes to crunch. That's my bit about that.
No, that's good. That's a lot of good points.
That's a really good point.
And honestly, game companies could pretty easily work in some resolution of this issue by just simply waiting to announce something.
Yeah,
if you're going to make a game, you want to make sure it's a good quality game. Just don't announce it until you're really dead sure that it's ready, or that it's really genuinely like X amount of months close to ready, and you've tested through everything and you've worked through everything that you need to do.
Or just be super transparent, like Nintendo has been about whatever the next Metroid Prime game is. Like they said, for those who aren't acquainted, basically, Nintendo's working on Metroid Prime. It's at some stage, but at some point during its development, they said, this game's not fun. It's not the game that we want to make, and we don't want to release it. Yes, it's on its way to release, but we don't want to release a game that we're not proud of, that we don't think you're going to like, and we're starting over from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
and I really appreciated that. Yeah. And you're going to have some people who are angry about that, but the majority of your player base, I think, is going to appreciate that you're taking time to put quality efforts into this.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to see what comes out of Cyberpunk 2077 in a year, I guess. We can come back to it and see how the patches went. But for those that are interested in that game, there's your information about that. So, moving
We
on
do
to
have-
more.
We do
Oh,
have
go
a
ahead.
comment from Twitch. For I have sinned 01 says cough, Anthem, and Borderlands free cough.
Yeah, mm.
And you probably could also add there's some cosmic karma to CD Projekt Red's issues, given how trash their marketing was for some of this. While some of the Night City vignettes have been great, the trans representation that they've had and the marketing up to lead up to this has been questionable. Is not even putting it nicely. Like, so, you know.
Talk to people with lived experience before you put that shit out there, guys. It's not that freaking hard. Sorry.
Unfortunately, it's
You're
also
right.
true that Poland is not the most hospitable place right now to certain social justice topics, as we have seen in recent weeks and months. So, yeah, that cultural piece is really, really important when we have studios that are scattered around the world. I think we as gamers sometimes forget that because there is such an international vibe to games and to the way the game studios function. Even they kind of look, especially the AAA studios, they all look a little bit alike, if you ask me. And we sometimes forget that the endemic culture of where a studio is has a big influence on the kind of stuff that they make, even if they are creating it for an international audience. That is a much tougher nut to crack because now we're talking about, you know, one culture versus another. But yeah, it kind of complicates things a little bit.
Yeah, that's one
Also-
of those things that goes beyond even the game culture or the game company itself, which it's not an excuse per se, but it does complicate things for sure.
I mean, acknowledgement of the difficulty of the problem is helpful, at least when being empathetic towards the fact that there are like actual other human beings who have to try to solve these problems, which are non-trivial. I mean, if you ask me, like, oh, how do you solve this problem of like cultural relevancy or relativeness in representation in certain games, and the answer is that sounds really hard, and I'm not a professional who's qualified to answer that question.
Yeah, and I think it's okay for them to admit, like, hey, we don't know how to solve this problem. But then, like Sarah was saying, ask people who've been a part of that experience and find out what their input is on the matter.
Yeah.
And then work with those people and explain, all right, this is the culture we're dealing with. What is your experience? How can we represent you well in the midst of all these things happening? But that's idealistic on at least my end of it. But maybe we'll get there one day. Got to start somewhere.
Perfect / better world.
baby
But
steps.
real quick, we Kenny, you did mention there was a little bit of happenings on Twitter. I think it was earlier today. The Cyberpunk folks released a comment of apology for, you know, basically all the problems on the current gen systems, stating that they basically should have spent more time testing the current gen stuff. I assume from the response, my interpretation is that they spent a lot of their QA time and testing time on the, you know, the Xbox Series, etc., and the PS5 and the and PC and so forth. And probably not so much time on the PS4 and the other Xbox stuff.
And that could explain why I haven't seen, like, I've seen some weird ragdoll stuff where, like, once you've an enemy has been killed, then the body has lost any interaction. So it's, you know, and that's, I'm like, okay, that's not a big, and some occasional like freezes where it's like it hasn't, like, not, the Xbox can still pull up the guide and stuff, but the game is just like paused for like a couple seconds and then it picks back up. It's like, so it's not a stuttering or anything. It's like it just whoop, hey, you can't play for a second, and then, and then you go. But the stuff I've seen on Twitter, I haven't, or the YouTube videos you're sending me, I have not had that experience. Like, that is hot garbage. So I was confused. I was like,
To put it lightly.
what do you mean it's bad? I'm like, okay, yeah, there's like these little weird things. It's not that.
Yeah, on PC there are indeed problems. Like, you know, there's like occasional stuff where somebody will spawn holding a cell phone, and their cell phone is where they were when they spawned, and they're continuing to walk and like holding nothing or whatever. It's like minor stuff on PC, but nothing that's, you know, like game breaking to the point of like, I want a refund. So if you're on PC, you're probably good. That's in quotes. But, you know, for all the folks who bought it on current gen consoles, you either ask for a refund or you just wait for them to fix it.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens with all of that. But speaking of things that are going to be happening, let's jump straight into the Game Awards. And we're talking about this before show about how we want to tackle this, and I think the best solution that we came up with was just to go around and talk about what each of us are excited about. So let's start with Sarah, because she's bouncing around being really excited right now. Go for it.
I mean, I think Songy, sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, mostly because we were yelling at each other during the Game Awards. I mean, I'm excited for Dragon Age 4. Saw that teaser coming. It was cool to see some of the concept art brought to motion and brought to life a little bit. And on Twitter, they were teasing some behind the scenes stuff of like, we're going to see some new faces. We're going to see some old faces. Nobody knows who yet because we still got a ways to go. But it was really good to see a little bit more than concept art there.
Mhm.
And shock of shocks, I was blindsided by that Mass Effect reveal. Still having a lot of feelings about it. I already have multiple working theories of what we might get. Mike Gamble over on Twitter, who is taking over with Casey Hudson, and Mark Darrow's departure last week. He'll be heading up the Mass Effect, whatever next game we get. But none of us expected anything because after Mass Effect Andromeda and the backlash that got for various little tweaky weird things at launch, the game was playable, y'all. If you didn't like it, you can fight me and that's fine. But given how loud folks were about how poorly that game was received, EA had essentially said outright that they had fridged the series for now. And with Hudson's return, he had pulled it back out and had kind of alluded to that something was going on behind the scenes. But to have an animated teaser featuring Liara and the Reapers, like there are two Reapers that we see, and we get an N7 helmet and 3 figures in the back that, upon closer inspection, look like a Solarian, a human, and a Krogan.
Mm.
Our best guess right now, based on the images we've seen, what Mike Gamble has shared, and my personal hypothesis, is that we're going to get something that bridges Andromeda and the original trilogy. There's a lot of... they built the whole teaser to allude to that, in that your first shot is of 2 galaxies. You go through the Andromeda system before we end up back in the Milky Way at the Citadel. And there's... Anyway, you could also break down all the different audio clips they threw in there, which Gamble encouraged people to do. But signs point to some collision of those timelines, probably looking at, a 600-odd year time skip, potentially, given Liara's being aged up and her, still being alive. You can see, wrinkles and stuff on her face in the clip. But we're getting a new Mass Effect. My heart cannot handle it. Outside of announcements, I was really excited to see Last of Us 2 clean house in an award standpoint, and as well as seeing Hades getting some much-earned credit. I only recently got into Hades, and I love it so much, and in retrospect, we should have taken more awards. But I'm going to stop talking now, because I just went off.
Songy, what about you? How are you feeling about the Game Awards?
I just want you guys to know that I have cried at least 10 times watching the new Mass Effect teaser. Sarah's covered a lot of it. By the way, that shot is actually of a destroyed relay, not the Citadel. I made the same mistake the first time I watched it here.
Okay.
Anyways, but yeah, it's obviously a ton of speculation about that game, but I'm more just emotionally processing what it means to return to those stories, because the original trilogy meant so much to me, so much more than I ever thought a video game ever could, and that's saying something. And so to know that we're going back to those stories, to those characters again, is really, really heartfelt. And I was like, 2020, you had the tiny sliver of something liking in it. I'll take it. So yeah, super excited. Really hope we're going to cover more of that in the coming kind of obviously months and years. because I genuinely believe it's going to be years. I want them to take their fucking time with this. Take as much time as you guys need, y'all. I need this to be good. Yes, obviously super excited about Dragon Age 4. Sarah and I are both BioWare fans, obviously. But yeah, lots of interesting stuff in that. You know, some different ideas bouncing around between me and a couple friends who were talking about it. Tevinter and Tiva have been mentioned. Two countries, nations in the Dragon Age universe we've never visited before. So super exciting about that. I'm really kind of hopeful we're going to see some old friends from either of those two nations that were in previous games. I'd love to have Zeb back. He's my favorite. I love him. Love him so much. And the art's gorgeous. Also, the Dreadwolf is hot as shit, and you bet I'm gonna hate him in that game if it's possible.
He's it's my favorite white boy meme.
Super good. Last thing that I'll call it that I really enjoyed. Obviously, we got a ton of new trailers during a lot of world premieres during the Game Awards. But the one that caught my eye was from the developers of Gone Home, called Open Roads. Really beautiful art direction. I am a really big fan of sort of that style of storytelling. The sort of like colloquially, maybe sometimes pejoratively called walking simulators, but I think that they're a really nice bridge between sort of like motion picture film or motion picture arts and sort of the video game universe. So really curious to see more about that. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Yep.
Cool. Steve, what about you?
Go ahead. I want to throw one comment we got from Twitch. We got some love eyes from, actually we're talking Mass Effect. Thank you, Gahala. Ubu, I think. And For I Have Sinned 01 also brought up, they were saying, one theory is that Liara brings back Shepard, and I don't know how I feel.
Let them rest, okay? Look, both male and they've both been through so much, regardless of what gender you play them as. Just let them rest.
Yeah, like it's okay to move forward with another protagonist. Just write the protagonist really well. Like, I'm not saying Andromeda's protagonist wasn't written well, because I like them, but like, it's okay to use new protagonists.
There is a theory that the helmet she picks up, the design of it is actually from the Andromeda, like, armor build base.
That'd be cool, because there is like N7 armor in that game.
Yeah. So that is another theory, is that it might be tied to the writers somehow.
That would be cool. I hope it is. I like them. So, and what was interesting about them is that there were two characters that both exist. Like, you can play as the male or the female, but they both actually exist at the same time in the universe. I was like, oh, this is neat.
I know we're not going to get it, but I need more writer siblings just fucking it up in the Andromeda Galaxy.
I mean, maybe we will.
That'd be so nice.
All right, so mild Dragon Age spoilers, but like, if we can get Dragon Age characters where they show up in later games, like on a regular basis, like, and they're just in there like helping out and doing stuff, like, I don't see why the writers couldn't show up if the timeline works out right. In some way, shape, or form, because we know that everything is possible in these games. Steve, what about you?
For me, I was just no major vibes, although I was just mildly salty that Ghost of Tsushima didn't take more categories. I felt like it was a phenomenal game. I was really pulling for it for, I think, best story direction. I was like, I was hype about Doom Eternal for a lot of categories, but I felt like Ghost of Tsushima had everybody beating that one, so I was like, damn. But for me, that was my big but my primary disappointment was I really was pulling for Ghost of Tsushima. Definitely not pulling for Animal Crossing in anything. Although I was, we've already talked about my feelings about Animal Crossing showing up for Game of the Year for anything. From a couple streams ago. If not for COVID, it wouldn't be nearly as popular or as big as it is.
Come on, Steve, don't hate the circumstances.
I acknowledge the circumstances. However, I have to allow the game to stand on its own two legs, and I feel like the legs that it stands on are not tall enough to ride the ride of Game of the Year.
It did. The part of the whole London Philharmonic lineup, though, it did fit in rather nicely with the rest of the music for this year.
Shit
Yeah, that was
sounds
weird.
good.
Yeah, but the soundtrack slaps. That 5 p.m. soundtrack, some of the probably
So good.
best track in all of Animal Crossing. It is up there with Reese's Puffs Uptown Funk remix and Ice Cube KK Slider remix. That 5 p.m. It's right up there. Top 3 for game remixes.
Fair point. fair point.
Game/cereal commercial remixes.
Also, shout out to Lauren Ball for that composition. I'm also hoping that will get released from the Game Awards. Like I need that version to come out and let me just listen to it.
Mhm.
Just
Yes.
enjoy that.
Lo-fi Game Awards and hip hop.
Yes. Oh my god.
Do it.
But the other one, there was one other one that stood out to me. What was it? Among Us won for best mobile game.
Yeah.
And I was kind of baffled. Genshin Impact is really, really, really good, and like Among Us is a fun game, but like the music's not good. Like the gameplay loop is fun. It's very accessible. You can play it on mobile. It's the worst way to play it, but you could play it on mobile.
That's the same is true of Genshin Impact, though.
I mean, yeah, but like Genshin Impact is like, it has an amazing story. I'm really engaged in it. I'm excited to see what comes next. The soundtrack is just astounding. So many times I stop playing the game and I'm like, I'm just gonna stand here and listen to this music because it's great. There's so many things going for it, and I feel not to say that like Among Us doesn't deserve to win something, because it is a fun game by itself. They've really captured a core gameplay loop that's been done a whole bunch of other times. But I felt like Genshin Impact is at least stood a very good what's it called? What's what I'm looking for? Stood a very good chance for Game of the Year, and I was really surprised that Among Us won amongst everything else over there that I don't play, because I don't play very many mobile games.
Yeah. Kenny, what about you? How would you feel about the Game Awards?
Well, one note, I want to get back into some comments. So
Okay, good. That's fine.
let's see. From Shepherd to Corporal Sheep, let's go. All right. Thank you, Cindy01. And then, where'd it go?
What you did, boy?
No, we're good. We're good. It's sorry. Whenever someone drops off my screen, I get worried that it like closed out. I'm like, what?
That's fair. You're the producer. You should be freaking out about that.
Kevin Patterson on Facebook, on the Facebook stream. Shout out to Sarah. He's got the same N7 hoodie. And then to Steve's comment saying Ghost was dope, but it was an Assassin's Creed game. Ooh, I don't know.
Have you watched the Honest trailer though? Because that's where that comment comes from.
I have not yet seen the Honest trailer for Ghost of Tsushima, but I'll definitely watch it because I love those.
Okay. I mean, gosh, now if Assassin's Creed does a Japan version, that's all I'm gonna think of.
Oh man, that comic's gonna hit. That's gonna age incredibly well, because that's definitely gonna happen.
True.
Mm-hmm.
It will.
They're just rolling through the history book right now. They're definitely going to get to Japan, and they're going to be like, what do we do? Do we just copy Ghost of Tsushima? They just release Ghost of Tsushima and just rename it. Nobody's going to know.
Make an Assassin's Creed game, but you'll be a samurai. Wait a minute.
What, the way Genshin Impact copied Breath of the Wild?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, Genshin Impact, they absolutely did. And there's like a couple of things where they're like, what if you had stamina bars? And I'm like, well, why do you use stamina bars in this? I feel like that mechanic doesn't really fit as well here as it does in Breath of the Wild. But
Yeah.
if you're copying a very successful model, just go for fine. Whatever. We have stamina now. It's fine.
Yeah. We do need to have a conversation one day talking about Breath of the Wild versus Genshin Impact.
Who would win in a fight?
No, not necessarily like comparing. Sure. But like comparing the two, because like they're the same, but they're also not, and it's weird.
Yeah. It's like, what if you made Breath of the Wild into a mobile game and you were like, I wanted to make a whole bunch of money, but also make it good?
But yeah, but we'll get to that conversation another day. Right now we're talking Game Awards.
All right, so my thoughts on Game Awards. As much as I wanted Ghost of Tsushima to win, like, and I've been thinking about this a lot for that, because when I went into it, I was like, I want Ghost to win, but Part 2, like Last of Us Part 2, like this was a hard one. This was a hard one. This is legit like one of the ones where I'm like, I'm walking away like I don't really have a problem with Last of Us winning. Like it'd be different if it was like overrated. That'd be a different thing. If it were just like wow, why are we picking this game like that? So if I had that feeling about it, then I'd be really like, but having played both of them and thoroughly enjoyed both of them and being emotional in Last of Us, I was like, I think I see where I think it's like, okay, I think a lot of people just got emotionally impacted by Last of Us Part 2, and I think it just like when something can stick in your chest like that, you're probably going to do really well when it comes back to award season. So, like, shout out to that entire crew, and also just I guess also like a sentimental like, hey, we're talking Cosmic Karma again, because of all the crap that came out at the start of the game, and all the hate campaigns and the YouTubers, you know who you are. So I can start listing them out. Review Tech Use. Okay, sorry, I won't.
And then we started playing.
And I started throwing grenades. No, it was a nice like little like reassurance from. I think it was also a good reassurance for the community. That, like, no, you made a great game. It may have been some things that made people upset, but also like made you have to confront some things and work some stuff out. You know, there might have been some things you might have wanted to change, but is the game good? Yes. Is the game great? Yes. So stop it.
They made people feel shit they maybe didn't want to feel, but that might be a good thing.
We need more of that some days, and like being able to do that with storytelling is huge.
Yeah. But Ghost of Tsushima did win Best Art Direction, and if it had lost that one, I would have flipped a table, because I talk about Spider-Man on PS4 all the time, where I'm like, I swing because I don't want to fast travel. It's beautiful and it feels good to swing in this game. Ghost of Tsushima, like, it's not thinking about the horseback. I'm on horseback because I want to see the island. Like, I don't want to fast travel, and I don't want to see everything. Like, you keep coming across stuff, and you're like, what? That's amazing, right? The Cherry Blossom Garden or field, I'm trying to think. When the title screen finally comes on, when you have fought the first con and lost, and you come into the title screen, you're in that like valley. Like, if that doesn't just make you have to stop for a second and like, oh, I guess I should go do something, but look at this. This is amazing. You know, and these are both late stage gen games. Like, it's also like, wow, your PS5 is getting ready to come out, and you'll drop these out in the summer. Like, that's incredible. Sorry, I'll stop.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I think those are the two biggest ones. One other thing. Half-Life Alyx was great. I kind of feel like Star Wars Squadrons was the better VR game. If we're talking about like just hits everything that, like, hey, because we're going to talk about Rogue Squadron here in a little bit. If what you imagined as a kid, like, how could you be immersed in a cockpit in a TIE fighter or an X-Wing? Star Wars Squadrons is that game if you're doing it on VR. If you're a regular console or PC player and you don't have VR, like, I can understand also why that, because it feels like it's a VR game that got ported to consoles and PC. So it's like, it feels better in headset. So if you can get that experience, I feel like, I mean, thinking about the hours I put into that compared to when I completed Alyx, like, I don't know. Alyx is a great game. I just feel like Squadrons was like, if I needed to show someone VR and get them into VR, and I just promised them, like, hey, you remember playing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter back in the day? Like, this is it. This is what you wanted. I know you did. So, cool. Yeah, but that's it.
All right.
Gotcha.
For me in the Game Awards, first of all, I lost my mind when Sephiroth showed up in that Smash Bros. Trailer. Like, and for those who haven't seen it, we actually have a video of this on our Facebook page. You can go check it out, like, of me and Kenny just kind of sitting there talking, and then, like, we're talking about, like, oh, who do we think is going to be is? And then that first 3 beats of Sephiroth's music drops before they even show him. And like I just like, oh my gosh, I just lost it. I was so excited, and I was also kind of in shock. But I was really excited about that. I thought the artisticness of that trailer was fantastic because they didn't show him initially. They just showed like they played the music, then they showed a blur, and then they showed Cloud's face.
Right.
And
The shots
Cloud was
were
getting mad.
What happened?
Like, it was really well done, and I am super excited about it because it's coming out this month. It was a quick turnaround from all the Steve stuff, which I was really surprised about. So it's a great, for me as a Smash Brothers player, that's a good, happy thing to have at the end of the year because this year sucked. So I'm really excited about that. But as far as like the actual like Game Awards themselves, and I'm also really excited about Mass Effect and Dragon Age for the record. As far as the Game Awards go, I was kind of glad that Final Fantasy VII Remake won the music stuff. And maybe not everybody agrees with that, but one of the first things I noticed about when I was playing at least the demo for the remake, the first thing that struck me was the music and how they took what existed and made so much more depth and intricacy to it. And I literally just sat there listening to it for about like 20 minutes before I actually like started like playing through things. And I would like get somewhere and I'd hear any music. I was like, this is beautiful. Like, I don't want to do anything else right now. And I don't usually have those moments with games except for like Genshin Impact, but like, because that music is also really, really, really good. Like, say what you will about Genshin Impact, that soundtrack's amazing. But I was really glad to see that it won that. I was really glad to see Hades like have as much representation and wins there as it did, because Hades, not only is Hades a really great game, but what people may not realize is that Hades comes from a really small studio. Like, this is an indie game, y'all, that showed up at the Game Awards and was like competing. Like, it's very good, and the fact that they managed to pull all this off is a huge deal, and I was glad that they got that recognition from that.
And not only are they an indie company, but they're an indie company who doesn't do a lot of the practices the big AAA studios do. They don't do crunch. They don't do crunch. They have mandatory vacations for their staff. They only have like 30 to 40 people, I think. And they made Hades. Like, it's possible, y'all.
Yep. You can own a game company and treat your employees well, and put out good, well-received, well-made, and enjoyable content.
Yeah.
I don't think they haven't had a real flop yet. Like, Hired didn't do as well as like Transistor Bastion and now Hades, but all of their games have been gorgeous and have met some niche for somebody. Like,
everybody knows about them. Like, even if you haven't played them, I don't think I've met anybody whom, when I've mentioned, like, oh yeah, they made Transistor, that they're like, oh, I've never heard of that. Like, most people are like, oh, I've heard of it. I might not have played it, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of just to show people, like, we don't have to have all this insanity that exists with these AAA studios to make good games. Like, you can have really, really solid, well done games that aren't these huge AAA games. They don't even have to look realistic. Like, you can do what you can with what you got and make a good game out of it, and that's a very important thing for people to realize. I was also really
good.
No, you're good.
As long as the design is clear, as long as the direction, the gameplay, as long as those things are all in sync and there's a clear, thought out narrative in every piece of the game, it's entirely possible to do this without next gen graphics. If I may be so bold as to say, the next gen stuff is going to be beautiful. Kenny, I know it's highly controversial, but even without those next gen graphics, which they're going to be amazing, I'm super looking forward to it. Even without those, if you have a clear direction, anything is possible, and that is something I genuinely, it's by sheer factor of numbers. When you have a smaller team, it can be more cohesive. That's something I think that indies have a bit of an edge over the bigger studios.
That's true. I was also really glad to see No Man's Sky actually get best ongoing, and I know that y'all are big Destiny fans, but to see them turn it around, I really like when seeing game companies turn something around. One of my biggest things that I love about Final Fantasy XIV is the fact that they turned that garbage fire of an introductory game into one of the greatest like MMORPGs I've ever played in my life. And to see No Man's Sky take what they had and be like, all right, we're going to fix this and make this good. And then they come back and win this, like, that's a big deal to me.
We love a comeback story.
Yes.
Backstory.
It's the in-goodening of No Man's Sky is the how the Internet Historian video title goes.
It gives me hope for all these other games that released that are really crappy. So
yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of games that have come out that started bad that eventually got good, as well as a couple games that started bad and have continued to be bad, and we hope they get good. Looking at you, Fallout 76, but you know, it's not impossible to turn it around. Yeah, you know, if you with like the problem with No Man's Sky wasn't that like you know they were trying to trick folks. It was just that I think it was either their director or their lead developer or whoever their spokesperson was. Like literally, anytime he was asked a question, he would just like, yeah, you could do that. It's like, oh, can you go? Are there like actually infinite planets? You go, like, yeah, it'd be infinite. Yep. No reason that two people should ever bump into each other. That never happened. Literally,
Yeah.
Day one. It's exactly what happened.
Yeah, this game was made by Lionhead Studios, right?
Yeah. Wait, was it?
I was joking. That's what the Fable did way
like-
back in the day.
I don't know. But yeah, like you know, the problem with their game was only that he overpromised at literally every provocation to overpromise.
Mhm.
And then they just couldn't. There was just no way that anybody could deliver all those things that were promised. And like if you look at it within that time frame, but if you look at it now, it's like you know most of the stuff that they said that they would do, or that he told people that they would do, is in there now. And you know the game slaps. It's a good time. Like now's the time to buy No Man's Sky if you haven't bought it yet. So.
That's true. But yeah,
Let's run through
okay.
some comments real quick. Vashes loved the Sephiroth announcement as well.
yeah.
Sin01 was also saying with how much fun they had with the Final Fantasy VII remake, they would have liked Tifa instead of Sephiroth, but totally it was like, oh yeah, but 100% Sephiroth.
That's understandable.
It's like, not arguing. Let's see. Ooh, to Steve, it's like they heard that shot from here when you were talking about
The shot fired heard around the world.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Are we going through more? Okay. But yeah. So, but they had a number of good announcements. There was a lot of cool award winning. It was good to see the representation for that who won the awards. For those who don't know, there's a new Perfect Dark remake game. I don't know what it is. We're getting Perfect Dark.
Which is funny because we were just talking about Rare, and we're like,
Yeah.
last week, and we're like, where are you all? What happened?
Apparently, they're right there with the Perfect Dark. Rare coming around the corner like Tom and Jerry, that Tom and Jerry cartoon where Tom pops out the closet.
It's like Rare's too busy making Viva Pinata and Connect games.
But yeah,
That list was sad.
Yeah, that was rough to read.
I forgot
You know
we're
what?
also getting that. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, you might say what I'm going to say. Go for it.
I was gonna say something about the Back for Blood game. I forgot about that.
Yep. I was going to say so many
Yeah!
games that came out of nowhere.
We were sitting there watching that. We're like, "Is this Left 4 Dead?" Like, wait a minute.
And it kind of, sort of is. It sort of is.
Spiritual successor, spiritual duplicate.
Yeah.
I mean, Left 4
very
Dead
much
just had a really big update like a month ago, so spiritual duplicate probably is more on the nose.
Yeah, but I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I know Katie and I were like really excited about that. We're like, "Oh, we're gonna stream this. Like, this could be fun."
If I have people to play with, I will play it. Know that I will probably just yell at things the whole time.
Is there any other way to play that game?
Yeah, Sarah and I were just yelling at each other about how much we hated the zombies and how Left 4 Dead was memories. Are you?
Okay.
Yeah. So for all you viewers out there, you can fully expect at least a good number of streams of us playing this game because apparently we've got a 4-party already. So
Like I say, we need to do Left 4 Dead 2 play for.
I'll do both. I will do both. I will be
Yeah, we can make
rusty
both
and
happen.
scream the whole way, but
it'd be awesome. We'll do that like
I
next
do start
month.
cursing whenever the witch shows up. When I start hearing the
Just don't shoot the witch.
But what if it happens by accident?
What you mean by accident?
you know
how
what
easy
it's like
it is to not shoot
screaming out of
something?
nowhere.
I mean, sometimes it's like they've spawned in the hallway. I have to go through it. I'm like,
Just say excuse me when you go by.
See, but
as
then she
opposed to
starts shooting at
jostling
you.
her like
You
a
say anything.
Come
I'm
on.
staring at you. Did you breathe?
Can you blocking like the whole hallway? Could I go by?
All right, so apparently we need to be doing some Left 4 Dead on our channel soon. We'll make that happen. All right, moving forward to other great announcement because there's so many things that happened last Thursday. Disney released, what was it? It was like an investors meeting or something like that, and they decided, you know what, we're just going to tell our investors everything we're doing for the next God knows how long. And I honestly would have had no idea that they're producing this many things right now. Fair warning to our viewers, we're probably not going to hit everything because there's just that many things that they're making right now. So sorry, but we're going to try to hit the
real
good
quick
stuff.
before you scroll through it. I have to imagine that investors meeting what like they roll in the hologram of Walt Disney and like in a silent room and like he looks at everybody. He's like, so I heard that you guys like money as like this guy is like he was like Ahsoka TV show, Lando TV show.
You get a TV show.
And everybody's just like, yeah. It's like everybody look under your chair. It's like you get $1 billion. You get $1 billion.
Oh my god.
That's probably how that meeting actually went down.
Word for word. Word for word.
So we'll get at least one of the big ones that I know numerous people are excited about. They're making an Ahsoka TV show. Yeah, we were kind of talking the other day about like how basically Ahsoka is too big to be in The Mandalorian. Like she's too big of a character for that universe. Are you heading out? All right, we'll see you later.
I don't care as much about Star Wars. Sorry, nerd you.
Oh, you're good.
This is not really my jam, so I'm gonna leave it to the experts and catch y'all next time for more BioWare stuff.
All right, we'll catch up with you later. Thanks for being on the show.
Take care.
Yeah. So they're making an Ahsoka show, which is good because she's a humongously important character. Everyone loves her. As much as I enjoyed her in The Mandalorian, I don't necessarily know that I want her to be a recurring character on that because she will steal the show every time she's on it because she's just awesome. So it's good to see that they're going to do stuff with that character. I'm glad to see Rosario Dawson's going to get more chances to play that role because she was fantastic in the episode she was in. I don't know if anybody else has thoughts on that.
I loved it. I would have liked more like wire fu type Jedi movement. But you know, practical stunts are always cool. So
This is why I was telling people to chill out about adding more people to The Mandalorian because this was coming down the pipe. We've been hearing about this for, I mean, I'm not saying like, I knew. It was like, but we've been having these rumors that these shows were going to happen. So I'm like, just hold your horses. Don't try to shoehorn everything in The Mandalorian. I think they have much common sense that we need more content on Disney Plus. So let's make some more Star Wars shows. And I feel very vindicated after Thursday. I was like, thank God. Now I can quit hearing about this person coming into Mandalorian or this person. Like, cameos or showing up for an arc or something is one thing. But if it's going to change his character into something else, that was my biggest. I'm like, we can dive Ahsoka, go trying to find Ezra and the whole Thrawn and whole 9 yards, which would be amazing.
God, that fucking Thrawn reveal, though.
Yeah. Like,
I was so hyped.
I'm so excited, but also like having watched Rebels.
I don't want to say anything to ruin Rebels for the folks who haven't seen it, but Thrawn is too cool of a character to go out the way that he did.
Yes.
yeah, he's not done. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Kenny's probably going to talk about this more on his show on Wednesday, but because y'all delve into that category more often.
Mm-hmm.
But so since we know that Kenny and Tom are going to talk more about this on Wednesday, let's just have everybody talk about what their favorite things were from the Disney thing. I'll actually start this time. I am really excited about the Tiana show, actually. Yeah. I have no idea what that's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to be like she goes back and forth between being a frog, but I didn't think that we got enough Tiana hype from Princess and the Frog. So I'm really excited about it. My daughter likes that movie, so I'm excited that she's going to be able to watch that and the Moana show. But I'm pretty stoked about that, honestly. I think that'll be cool. I'm glad to see them get these characters more screen time.
Here's hoping for more princess, less frog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much yes. Also, more of that music from that movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Steve, what about you? What are you hyped about?
Probably it's a tough call between Lando or Obi-Wan. Like I've wanted some Obi-Wan centric content for a really, 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 really long time. Although, like having Donald Glover as Lando for a show would be extra fresh. I mean, Lando is basically like, oh man, Han Solo's really cool, and then like somebody was like, but what if he was cooler? And it's like,
You got me there.
that's a good idea. Billy D. Williams, get in here.
Exactly.
Who's the coolest person we know? I'm pretty sure it's Billy D. Williams. Nobody else. So bam.
Like the two of them
But
just walk in the room and everyone else is just instantly self-conscious because they're not as cool as the two of them combined at all.
Yeah, really. But yeah, between all the stuff that's been announced, for me it's got to be those two. Like getting more of what Obi-Wan was doing for the decades of unaccounted time that we have, unless you read comic books or other media and consume that kind of stuff. But getting it in a a visual format, I think will be a lot of fun. Same for Lando, like seeing what bonkers hijinks he gets into. We see him, I think, in 1-2 episodes in Rogue. What's the thing? Not Clone Wars, the other one. I'm blanking.
Rebels.
Yeah.
Rebels.
Thank you, Rebels. I'm like, it starts with an R. I'll get there. But we see him like an episode or two in Rebels, and like that's pretty much it. So it's like we don't get a lot of Lando. So getting more, I'm excited about. Similar to like Mandalorians as a culture, as a group, as an individual. I feel like there's a lot that you can explore there and a lot that you can go into. And I'm also interested to see how Obi-Wan handles his best friend / brother's assumed death and then realization that he's not dead, because that's probably
That's a
very
good
hard.
point.
I mean, I would assume that if I cut somebody's legs off and their good arm off, and then left them next to lava, that they would be dead. And when people start telling me, oh, there's this evil dude who seems to be more machine than man, who's killing every Jedi that you've ever known, I'd be like, it couldn't possibly be him. It's got to be somebody. It's got to be somebody else.
Yeah.
But I mean, he probably said the same thing when he found out, like, oh, yo, dog, Darth Maul's alive. Like, no, I cut him in half and he fell in a hole. He's dead. Come on.
There's an episode about that. Clone Wars covers that.
Yep. It's fun anecdote. A friend who had not yet watched, actually, people who haven't watched Clone Wars yet, or Rebels, Darth Maul gets cut in half. He gets robot legs, and his legs get a robot top. He becomes 2 Mauls. Facts.
God, the first half, not the second half. Maul's
no,
that cockroach you can't fucking kill.
I told a friend that. And he was like, at first he had the initial disbelief of, no, that didn't happen. He's like, but they could do that though. And I'm like, why would they put a robot body on human legs? Come on. Oh man, but that's my hope.
On that note, Sarah, what do you think about all this?
Going to second the Obi-Wan show. I am always down for more Ian McGregor, and I'm curious to see Hayden Christian Anderson come back. Or did I mix up?
Hans Christian.
No,
Sorry.
God.
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden,
Hayden Christensen.
It was
I know
in
what
the
you meant.
ballpark.
It was a good joke though.
I don't know. Anyway, point being, I'm excited to see him to come back and play Vader. A little bit older, a little bit wiser, and actually get a chance to act in a way that is not directed by George Lucas.
Yeah, it's amazing what that will do for you.
I didn't
Hey,
think about that.
yeah.
My motivation. You don't like sand. Can you give me anything else? No. Roll.
Of course. Uh,
You know, it's dirty,
It's
hard,
awesome in that
of
movie.
course, it's sand. Just go off of that.
Oh man. Beyond that, speaking of Clone Wars, I'm super stoked that the Bad Batch is getting their own series. I'm a big Clone Wars fan, and to see like Echo and the team get their own line of mishaps and adventures, and also just more Clone Wars content. Like, I love me some Clone Wars. I love that style, and especially after season 7, I'm really excited to see, given the updated technology and stuff, what they get to do with that. So, and also Ahsoka, because I love Ahsoka so much.
Really, now that I'm thinking about like all the content that they've produced so far, that's been about that in between period between like A New Hope and, or really like post Revenge of the Sith and like pre Empire Strikes Back, like stuff that's happening in between there. All their content and then has been very good. I don't know, like I've been playing Jedi Fallen Order, and I keep hyping about this because like the story is just so good. It's so interesting seeing what's going on in the universe, like at that transition time.
Right.
It's almost like there's
And
a
to see, like,
wealth of
the people fighting
material to go
I know,
into.
I know.
crazy.
Massive.
What do you mean people didn't
sandbox.
just take it lying down?
Like, yeah, I bet you could probably make, you know, like a whole 6 movies out of it.
Look,
Don't say
they
that.
already whacked us with the frickin' sequel action. Like,
Yeah.
let's not tempt fate here.
It's like, let's have each movie directed by a different person,
Oh god.
and in a completely
just
different
gonna-
art style.
Don't give me
Yeah, and
don't get me
retcon each
started.
other.
Don't get me started.
Yes,
Yes. Like
reboot
Ooh.
each movie with every release of the next movie.
I don't have feelings about the sequels, but
that's a whole separate show for all the Nerd Union crew one day.
Oh, man.
Just be angry together.
Let me run through some comments real quick.
Go for it.
I think Garshnuggle was talking about the witch back in Left 4 Dead, saying "Be brave, ship." Look, I'll do what I gotta do, take him down. But I'm saying I didn't like it. I didn't like having to do it. Vashis agrees on Gambino's Lando was a dream come true. And Sin01, the 4-part tie-in to the Revenge of the Sith in Clone Wars was so good. Also agreed.
It was.
Yeah.
I also think people forget about the first Clone Wars animated, like not the movie, but like the
Yes.
Gwendy.
Oh, yeah, the OG
The
series?
5-minute shorts. The
Yeah.
5-minute shorts.
Yeah.
Those were amazing. Like
Yeah,
watching
pretty
those
good.
as a little kid, and like just getting new Star Wars content that's on TV was like the hypest thing, and it was good too.
all right, I'm gonna have to go find those. I don't think I've seen those.
Oh, you would
No.
love it.
Oh,
Yo,
'cause-
you're gonna love it.
Disney Plus gives me the animated movie that everybody doesn't talk about because it was bad,
Yeah, we just don't. We don't.
and then the main series. So yeah, I'll
I
check those
think
out.
it's.
I wonder if
You
there's
probably have to
some-
find it on YouTube. Yeah, I think it's on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, you in particular with your love of animation will love it.
Yeah, because it's in that Powerpuff Samurai Jack style.
Yep.
Okay.
It's very strong Samurai Jack vibes.
Plus,
Alright.
like, you get to see, like, because this happened before the Clone Wars series was released, so, like, you get to see, like, why in Revenge of the Sith everyone is like, General Grievous, what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's a monster in that.
Yeah, Clone Wars Grievous and the animated short Grievous, awesome. The movie Grievous, I don't know who that person is.
If you don't watch Clone Wars, there's no context for him. He shows up, Obi-Wan kills him, and we move on.
Yep. He's like, oh wow, that guy's
Fair.
got 4
Obi-Wan
arms.
just, like,
holding
murks through people
lightsabers.
that movie.
Hold 4 lightsabers. Okay, alright.
I'm a helicopter.
I mean, we basically got that in the Clone Wars during those, what was that, like 3-4 episodes where, you know, Anakin's like, oh, the council wants you to go do something. He's like, don't worry, bro, I got your back. I'll manage your troops. He's like, yo, y'all gonna die. Walk straight. Walk right down the middle. And he
Oh,
had
yeah.
he had 2
Oh,
double-bladed
frickin'
lightsabers.
That guy.
Krell. God,
Yeah,
that
that guy
arc.
sucks.
Yo, I have never
Oh.
immediately hated a character so fast.
Right? Oh,
I'm like, yo, y'all need to mutiny and kill this man.
I
right
won't say
now.
more because spoilers, but
Yeah.
if y'all watch anything out of Clone Wars, watch that frickin' arc. It's like 3 or 4 episodes. It is gorgeously designed and also like, just like rip your head out.
Feelings.
It's fine.
Yep. If you want to know how other people in the galaxy can hate the Jedi and like not understand them, like it's because there's dudes like that guy running around. That's
Mhm.
exactly why.
Yep. All right. So, Kenny, what were you excited about?
I'm excited about a lot, but
All right.
so you saw me love Star Wars Squadrons, because Rogue Squadron is what I'm really excited about, having Patty Jenkins direct that. Also, the little the teaser that they put together is really clever. I was like, what do you do? Like, she was talking about her dad and being a fighter pilot and her history behind that. Always wanted to do a any kind of fighter pilot, well, not any kind of fighter pilot movie, but this is the one that she was able to get, and yes, I'm excited. But the because you'll see like her talking about it, but then she's secretly zipping up into a X-wing pilot suit to go walk to a CGI X-wing put in the shot. And it's like really good. So it's like, what? We're gonna what? We're gonna what? Yeah, I was expecting, I didn't even know it was a Disney thing. I was like, is this like another Wonder? Like, is this like? I thought maybe it was like the Amazonian release, like some kind of because we're getting that prequel Amazonian movie.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking more of. I'm like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, maybe we're gonna get like some World War One planes or something. And he's like, okay, I was not thinking Star Wars, even though people were like, yeah, it's a Rogue Squadron. I'm like, huh? So to see it, I'm like, can't speak that.
That's great.
And they're already talking. She's already trying to see if she can get Patty. I was about to say get Patty. Chris Pine and Gal Gadot to jump in there with her.
That'd be great.
So I don't know if that's going to happen, but hey, you've already got good chemistry working with a pair. I'm fine with that. People might be like, "Oh, we already see." I was like, "Shut up." I'm good with it. Let her work with who she wants to work with.
Who's gonna get tired of seeing Gal Gadot and Chris Pine working with Patty Jenkins on anything?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like when has that ever been a bad thing?
Insane. Yeah, that was my big one. Because when Rogue One came out, I knew it wasn't gonna be a Rogue Squadron movie, so I kind of let that go. Like, I was like, that's not what this name is about. Even though they're saying Rogue One's like, that's not what this is about. So, and I enjoyed that movie, but actually getting like, no, we're gonna focus on this, like we're gonna focus on a squadron of X-wings and let them be badasses. Like, cool, I'm in. So.
Nice. Yeah. So for anybody that hasn't looked that up, you can look up, or there's a number of articles that are posted about that. And I'm going to warn you now, it is a very, very, very long list of reveals and trailers and things that are going to be happening in the next few years. And the next few years, I mean like the next 10. But D23 has that on their page. That's Disney's like official like press site. And we didn't even really go into all the Marvel things that they've announced. There's a lot of Marvel stuff that's coming along the way. We've got stuff like
Loki,
Loki, which looks bonkers good.